Adrienne, since you're doing the first section, why don't you get us kicked off?
Okay. Hi and welcome. How many of you are there on that are taking the exam?
About a dozen, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome. My name is Adrienne Bryant, and I took the exam in May of this year and passed. Yay! And so I'm excited to be here to help and answer any questions and give my perspective on just tips and things to think about in the next couple of weeks. Do you have any questions for me before I just dive into the marketing part, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So many questions. But I guess the first one, we were kind of chatting about this before, we're all a little nervous as the day grows ever nearer. Maybe tips about mental state before, during, and after the exam, kind of how did you feel and what helped you, and then you said you maybe felt like you didn't do that great, but you actually passed. So anything to our minds.
Yeah, so and I'm trying to pull out my phone. I'm trying to look up this video that I threw out there to the cram chat yesterday. Everyone, I will tell you, everyone talks about making sure you get a good night's rest, eat a breakfast in the morning. The one thing I would say, definitely get a good night's rest, but don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do. I don't normally eat breakfast in the morning, and I ate breakfast that morning, and perhaps maybe that's what helped me, but my stomach felt so queasy during the entire test. So I don't think that I would, if in that situation again, I would not eat. I would just do what I normally do, because that was just a horrible feeling to sit through the exam and have to deal with that. If you haven't already and you have the ability to, take at least the day before off, do that. I think that was extremely helpful for me to not have to worry about going into work, to be able just to review. I didn't try to read everything, I just tried to go over the areas that were still giving me trouble. I made flashcards for those areas specifically. Just did some handwritten, old-fashioned 3x5 index cards and just wrote that information out and studied that. Another tip that people gave was, when you get in and you open the front of your test booklet, go ahead and do a brain dump of all the information. If, like me, you happen to do a brain dump at 2 a.m. in the morning, you just wake up out of a dead sleep and you just start dumping information out of your brain, don't worry, you can pass the exam. I don't know what happened, but I woke up at 2 a.m. and I just started spewing out information, and I said, oh gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. The other tip that helped me, and I really think that this is what helped me pass the exam, is I wrote the word broad. That was the first thing I wrote in my test booklet, because as I was doing practice questions, I would get the wrong answer, and I couldn't figure out why I would get the wrong answer. I'm looking at the answer, I'm like, well, this seems like the right answer. One of the things I had to remember is that when I had two choices left, one of them would incorporate some part of the other answer, and so I had to remember to think in the broadest sense of what they were looking for. And so once I did that, I'm fairly certain that a lot of that is what helped me pass the exam, just thinking in broad terms. Remember, you're the CSE of an association with unlimited budget, unlimited staff, unlimited time, so don't let those kinds of things where they have to deal with the budget bog you down, because you're to assume that you have the budget. You're not looking or trying to make a budget work. There was a TED Talk that one of my study mates had us watch, and it is by Amy Cuddy, and it's called Your Body Language Shapes Who You Are. And I'm not one to, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to do this feel good, watch a TED Talk, and it's going to make me feel better. But I decided to do it, and it really did. When I walked in after watching that, when I woke up that morning and I walked into the test room and I got my pose, and I said, you know what, I am a CAE, I'm going to pass this. And I think it really did change my whole mindset and my posture, aside from feeling queasy from eating that morning. But I really think that it really helped me mentally to prepare. So yeah, I think that's all I can think of right now. I hope that's helpful.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you. Where did you sit in the room, Adrienne? Did you sit closer to the front or back?
I sat in the back because so it's really weird. I'm the person that likes to sit in the front, but I got in there late, so I had to sit in the back. So, but I found it helpful because it was close to the bathroom, and then I didn't feel like I was being disruptive by having to get up and go to the bathroom. So get there early so you can choose your seat.
we're getting some pretty bad feedback from someone. I'm not.
Yeah, it sounds like a turn signal.
I tried muting different people and I couldn't figure it out. So if you're not speaking, if you can mute, that's great.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. It's like I can't hear anyone. All right, so if you guys, as we go along, if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to help however I can. If I don't know the answer, I will find someone who does. So, but with the marketing, there's not a whole lot here to me at any rate. The marketing piece is pretty easy. I think it's mainly a lot of common sense. Marketing and branding, it's what we do, it's who we are, and I think that it's a part of everything that we do as association professionals. So in the marketing section, your objectives were to be able to define the scope of the market and identify target segments and key groups to make sure that you're targeting appropriately and that you're using the right strategies. Using environmental scanning, and I see there's a big environmental scan survey going on out there, so how apropos, and make sure you're using tools to research and guide in the implementation of your marketing strategy. And then the ability to be able to develop and implement a marketing plan to support your association position, their branding. How can you enhance recruitment and retention? How can you better promote programs and products? And then the ability to establish and manage an association ethics and discipline program to promote and enforce standards of ethical behavior. So again, marketing reaches across everything that we do as professionals, whether you're in the marketing department or not, or if the marketing department is you. Okay, any questions, just overall questions about marketing? Okay, so my first question would be, can anyone who is willing to describe a process that would assist an association to determine its unique value proposition? And don't be shy. So what do you think a unique value proposition is? Let's break down the terms. What do you think a unique value proposition is when it comes to your association?
Well, we do an internal scan of staff capabilities.
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
An internal scan of our staff capabilities and our member benefits.
Okay. What about, any of you have an association where there are other associations out there that kind of do what you do? You know, why, okay, let's look at it this way. Why do members join your association? What makes you unique? What can they get from you that they can't get anywhere else? Okay, I see, oops. See if I can bring that back. Someone wrote something. Oh, okay, unique value proposition, a scan of competitors to filter out what is the thing we do best or uniquely. Perfect. And that's basically, so what kind of process would you use to find out what you do best or what you do that's unique that other people don't do or don't do as well as you? Okay, so we could define our market scope. We could do an environmental scan, looking at our internal data. What do we have inside? What external sources are there? I'm trying to think. So my association is the Association of Florida Colleges. One of the things that makes our association unique and different from other associations that may be like ours is the fact that we are the association for all employees at a college campus, regardless of what their position is. Most of the other state associations that are for their state and community colleges, they mainly represent the college presidents. They don't represent the career and staff employees. They don't represent faculty. So that's one of the things that makes our association unique. We give a voice to everyone in the community college system. Deborah, thank you. Research, yeah, definitely doing that research, looking at what's out there. Sorry. So yeah, so you wanted, so basically I think that the answer here is just doing a scan of what's out there externally and what you offer internally. So do you offer a certificate or certification program? What unique member benefits do you offer that they can't get anywhere else? And then how do you market the different things that you offer? Does that make sense? Any questions on that part? I see it looks like it says someone's talking, but I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, Adrienne's Rachel. I think that's still our background noise, so you should be fine.
Okay. All right. So then the last question that I have for you is, can anyone name what the elements of an effective marketing plan is? There's five elements that make up an effective marketing plan. Okay, so your first one, and this would be talking about, yes, Deborah, intro. Perfect. And that's your introduction to the plan. You know, what is it that you're talking about? What is it that you're going to do? What is it that you want to do? Okay. Your second component, and I forgot what page in the study guide this is going to be your business summary. Excuse me.
On page 279.
Perfect. Page 279. And that's the professional practices or the study guide? I'm sorry.
It's in the study guide, 279 and 280.
Okay. And I walked out of my house without my books today, so forgive me. Your business summary. So all of this goes back to, again, the previous questions that ties in finding our unique value proposition. You know, the same process that you're going to go through. You're going to create your business summary. You know, what is your organization? What do they do? Who do they serve? Okay, your third step, you're going to do research. You're going to do that environmental scan. You're going to see what's out there. You know, what do you do? What do other people do? Who are your potential members? Who are your current members? What are their needs? What do you offer to fit those needs? Okay, what you can offer to fit those needs. Okay, and then you're going to do you're going to come up with your market strategies and your projections. So if one of your goals that you listed was, I'm currently at 7,600 members and I want to get to 10,000, what am I going to do to get to that 10,000 number? You know, how long is it going to take me? Is it going to take me 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What's my plan? And what strategies am I going to employ? You know, what segments of your market can you increase growth? If out of, so for the Florida college system, there's a potential of 20,000 employees. Of those 20,000, I have 7,600 that are members. I want to grab another 2,400 of those people. If I look at the segments of what my membership falls in, so we have college presidents. Well, there's only 28 community and state colleges in the state of Florida. 28 of them are members. I can't grow that segment anymore, correct? I have faculty. I would need to know, okay, how many employees are faculty? How many of those do I currently have? And then is that an area of growth? Is that someone that I need to market to? Career and staff employees, part-time employees. So those are the different areas that I would look at to figure out, you know, where can I grow and create strategies for each one of those segments in order to grow the segments that I can grow. And Deborah, marketing strategies and projections, monitoring and evaluation techniques. Yeah, perfect. And so then once I've figured out what my strategies are, who I'm going to market to, what I'm projecting, then I need to monitor that. I need to push, you know, test each one of those strategies that I'm putting out there. You know, do I market the same for faculty as I would for career and staff employees? Maybe, maybe not. You know, testing different messages on each one of those, monitoring how those messages work. Did I increase my number of members in faculty by using this particular message? And if I did, great, let's keep doing that. If I didn't, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board and do it again. So I look at that part as being a circle. The market strategies and projections, your monitoring and evaluation techniques, all of that is being a circle, and that's just your circle of life, or I can't remember the other word I'm looking for. And so once you figure out what your goal is, how you're going to get there, what you're going to use, you monitor it for effectiveness, and then you come back around and you adjust for anything that you need to adjust for. Does that make any sense? Is that pretty much what you're used to? All right. Well, if you have any questions as we go along, again, I'm here to help. I'm going to hang on here, and if I can help offer any input into the other areas, I most certainly will.
Great. Thank you so much, Adrienne, and thank you for your help on putting the PowerPoint together. We kind of took off from your great start, so we appreciate the assistance. I'll do a quick overview of the public relations programs. This is Rachel Daeger. It's Professional Practices Chapter 22. And so our learning objectives for the public relations section is identify the target groups and individuals who must be positively influenced to ensure that PR efforts are targeted appropriately. Plan, implement, and evaluate a public relations education and information program to positively influence groups and individuals and to enhance public trust. You'll hear a lot of the same terms as you did in the marketing as far as planning, implementing, evaluating. The definition of public relations is management and communications between the organization and its publics. Some of the other key definitions that were part of the study guide is terms like message framing, which is part of a strategic PR campaign that involves identifying key and secondary messages to motivate our audiences to take action. And then very important publics. In a strategic campaign, the key publics, and it says limit the list to 3, each requires its own key and secondary messages. We'll also make a definition between public relations and public affairs. Public affairs has very similar goals, but it is typically associated with government action. So you may want to keep those 2 terms defined in your head. And then we're also, some additional elements in a public relations program is develop crisis communications and management plan to prepare a media spokesperson to communicate the association's position, and then formulate and articulate appropriate responses to inquiries from the media and the public to ensure that all relevant parties are properly informed. Now I'm going to walk us through some of these questions. I actually have a couple sample questions, so I'll save the audience input until my last couple slides. So name 2 goals of a public relations activity. Goals should be specifically tied to your organization's mission. They may include influencing stakeholders, enhancing public trust, changing opinion, increase awareness of the association, or a call for a specific action or reaction. Some of this, and actually in the professional practices book, it walks through the steps in conducting a public relations plan, similar to marketing. State the objective, analyze the situation. There could be internal as well as external factors. Define the program goal. Identify the target audience. Define program objectives for each audience. Determine communication strategies. Those could be media strategies or message strategies. And then implement the program, where you're assigning responsibilities, determining a budget, and developing a schedule. And in the end, evaluate the results. It's noted in the book that evaluation is often neglected. You're trying to determine, did message reach the target audience, and did it achieve a desired outcome? And then modify the program as needed for your next step. Any questions on those, the public relations goals or the steps in conducting a plan? All right, next we'll look at the difference between issue management and crisis management. Issues are potential threats. You can identify those through a radar environmental scan. Crises are issues that escalate. You should have a crisis management plan in place to be able to act swiftly when a crisis is typically a surprise, a threat. There's short responsive time. The crisis can take various forms. It could be an industry accident, a financial mishap, a political issue, a natural disaster, or a problem with a reputation. I'm sure it wouldn't take too much for all of us to come up with a public relations crisis in our heads. They seem to happen almost on a daily basis anymore. But some of the things to keep in mind when you're doing your plan is, again, identify the target audiences and key contacts. Important, determine the chain of command. Practice your plan and keep it up to date. One rule of thumb mentioned in the book is tell it all and tell it fast. So I have seen some practice questions that relate to crisis communications, and they usually talk about making sure that you have a plan or that your policy is in place well before anything comes up on your radar screen that might be considered a crisis. Are there any questions about this section? All right, so next we'll distinguish between earned media and paid media. Earned media is positive publicity gained through promotional efforts that are not paid advertising. So any kind of a press release that gets repurposed, you know, a lot of social media would probably be considered earned media. It's not something that you have paid to place, but it's news about your association that's been picked up by media channels and distributed. And then conversely, paid media is actually advertising. So PR is kind of equated to that earned media term. Okay. And then what's the scope of a branding initiative? Branding is building an emotional tie between the customers, products, and services. It's part of an integrated marketing plan. This question was actually in the public relations section. It probably would have fit better in the marketing section, but in some respects, I mean, all of your communications efforts revolve around your branding of your association, so public relations definitely fits in with any kind of a branding initiative. And then there is a study question that I have left off because honestly I have asked everyone I can find, and in the study guide it asks to define the difference between public education versus public information, and I have yet to find someone who can give me that answer. So I have added a different question in listing the 4 key areas of a public relations program. That would be overall planning, monitoring your presence on the web, relationship with the media, and preparation for a crisis. And if anyone ever comes across the public education versus public information, please let me know, because I simply cannot find it in anything that I have read to date.
Rachel, this is Carolyn. One thing that one thing that strikes me when I hear that is it may be flipped. It may be educate the public versus informing the public. So, you know, a tactic.
That is an excellent point.
Yeah.
Versus just giving information, you know, and about the facts about what happened.
Oh, go ahead, Adrienne.
Oh, no, and I said, that's funny because that was the answer that I was about to type to you in the cam chat yesterday, but then I said, let me make sure.
I think that's what it is. So I think it's simpler, you know,
okay.
It probably wanted to be on the test.
I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to just give you my off-the-cuff answer.
Well, that would be me, because I tend to make things harder than they have to be. But yeah, I did see there's some reference to public information, whereas you're almost acting like the internal journalist for your organization. So that definitely makes sense. And then the question, how do community service projects impact the public image, perception of the industry or profession, and the brand of the association? You know, enhancing visibility with the community, improving morale and camaraderie among staff and volunteers, developing an internal value system that puts a premium on giving back to the community. Those are all benefits of a community service project. I have seen some questions in the study guide that relate to, you know, evaluating a community project in terms of its impact as far as, you know, the PR value that it serves. So you may see some question along these lines of how do you evaluate a community service project, or what are the benefits of becoming involved in a project. And then the final question was, assist the risks of poorly integrating public information programs with other initiatives. Poorly integrated programs result in duplication, non-coordinated messages, there's budget implications, and then, you know, lack of cross-promotion. In some instances, when your messages are competing with themselves, then you're just, diluting anything that you're doing. So definitely risks associated with not coordinating your messages, or making sure that your messages, clearly follow your strategy. So I had a couple practice questions. A chemical dump site is found near an elementary school. While no specific injuries or illnesses have been tied to the site, the parental outrage is vehement. You are CSE of the Hazardous Waste Association and are called to respond to the media inquiries. The organization responsible for the dump is a member. And so what should we do? A, decline the interview. B, accept the interview but distance the association from the irresponsibility of the member. C, accept the interview with sole focus being the mission of the association, safety, common sense in disposal of toxic waste, and concern for the community. Accept the interview and call for new legislation that would severely punish those who violate dumping laws, offering statistics on illegal dump sites. What's everybody think?
C.
Good job. We're getting good at this. For point A, decline the interview, that equates to doing nothing, and that is not going to be the correct answer. Accept the interview but distance yourself from the member. One of the key terms in interviews with the media is do not place blame. So by doing that, you would essentially be pointing blame at your member. C takes a positive approach. What can we do to prevent this type of thing from happening? And then we would not select D because don't repeat the negative or place blame. That's just another one of the tips. So by calling for new legislation, talking about severe punishment, that would be in fact reinforce a negative of the situation and place blame. So yay, good job. Next one, the PR staff and volunteer leaders have engaged in an issue management activity that brainstorms potential crisis. At the CSE, you suggest the group's next step should be in which order? Set a likely time frame, determine the likelihood of such a reality, investigate what the cost of control might be, and determine how successful a full-scale damage control plan might be. What do we think? Any guesses?
D? That's a guess. I really don't have a good answer.
Well, can we anybody want to eliminate one or two of them to make it easier?
I'm going to eliminate A. I'm going to play along here because because I don't know what would we be setting a time frame for. So I don't, based on the question, I don't understand what we'd set a time frame for.
Well, and we could kind of eliminate C because C mentions some type of a budget constraint. And when we kind of know as a rule of thumb that if something is a budget, then that's not likely to be the answer. Actually, the answer is B. So the first step is determine the likelihood of a reality. D is part of the evaluation, but it's kind of getting you bogged down in the details of the problem. So it would not be. Oh, I got the wrong one in there. Hold on. Yeah, it would be determining the likelihood. Any questions on this section? Otherwise, we'll move on to our publications. There we go, Carol, if you want. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can I quickly ask, did you get that last question? Where did you get that question from?
I could go look, because I have about 3 other sample tests. It might have been the Chicago exam.
Okay, no, you don't need to go look. I just was curious about that because that was just an interesting I'd never seen a question like that. So thank
That
you.
was a good
Thanks for
question.
digging. Thanks for digging for it.
I was going to say, I mean, we've, in Indianapolis, there's 3 of us that are studying, and I think we've uncovered like 3 other tests, sample tests that have the answers with them, and if anyone's interested, we can share. Maybe at this point I'll also mention that in the invitation for today's session, there was a link to Adrienne's Quizlet group, and I highly encourage you to request to be part of that class, because Adrienne has done a fantastic job of putting the keywords into something that's easy to put on your phone, and it makes it a game, and it's just so much more easier than flipping over note cards. So I've been using the little Quizlet now for the last week or so, and as to say, if anyone has any questions about getting on, or Adrienne, any comments about using it, I'd say it's a great study tool.
Yeah, because I just, I'm known as the techie in my world. So, although I did purchase the MSAE cards, and I did use those as well, but it was just easier. So if I was flying or in the car traveling, not driving, it was just easier for me to just have that handy on my iPhone. I could just go and it will play. Now it won't play like the really long ones, but it will play some of the shorter ones that don't have a lot of text. And so just listening to that, whenever, wherever. So it just kept it at the forefront of my mind. And once you do have to be accepted into my group on Quizlet. So when you go there, you'll just click on that link, sign up for a Quizlet account. And then once you've asked to join, then I go in and I accept you, and then it will show up on your smartphone. But you do have to sign up from the web first in order to get into it. And if you use like a really weird name that doesn't look like a real name, just shoot me an email and let me know, because I've not accepted some people because I don't know. You get a lot of weird people that request to join things, and I don't know who they are. So, and I don't know what they can do, and I don't want to get anything messed up for you guys. So.
Well, and I'll add the phone app. I've been using the app on my iPad, and I love it. But actually, if you use the web version, the online version, there's like other kind of tests and ways that it organizes the information. So if you don't have access to a smartphone that you want to put that on, I'd say go ahead and sign up and use the online version, because I think it's a really great refresher, especially at this point as we're getting down to crunch time. And I've actually kind of used that account to build my own set of keywords and to use to study. So thank you so much, Adrienne. You might have just saved it. Okay, Carol, I was going to say, we don't want to take up the whole time. Do you want to start on the publication section?
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Carolyn Barth. And so there's quite a few learning objectives here. What I think that the main things to take away in the questions I've seen just in preparation are the 2 main facts: that never say no comment, that may be on the test. It implies guilt, and the other one, nothing's off the record. So just keep those in mind, because I've seen those on sample practice exams quite a bit, and those are easy questions to ask because they're testable. So publications, media, and messages. Some of the learning objectives for this section are to evaluate consumer and trade media outlets and develop and implement media approaches to advance the association goals. So look at your mission, think about, what's the right space for you to be in terms of what your members want and how you can inform and educate the public, and what your sweet spot is. What's the trade that you want to go after, what are the consumers, and how are you going to get there? Second one is integrate the communications delivery program to achieve the optimum messaging. Think about, I guess I would just say on this one, think about if you're interviewing with the New York Times, science section, try to think broad. Try to think very high level, very educated audience. think about, if it's online, now a lot of places want a video along with it. Is there something else you can do to kind of ramp up your message or make it stick? And then also roll out your messaging to people, kind of look at trouble spots where you're not sure that everybody's on the same message, because one message repeated over and over again will help make your message stick. So that the evaluation part is key. And if you're talking to the trade, you can use more clinical language. If you're talking to the press, the public, you'll want to use simpler language. So develop a variety of publications, including technical journals, media programs, and delivery systems to meet the diverse needs and interests of members and stakeholders. So your journal, the media programs would be more public outreach, tools for members perhaps to do more grassroots media, and delivery systems, web, social media, all those different channels that you can do to kind of build buzz. And we'll find out a little later that they're using a lot of old terms in this section, so don't be afraid if you see on the test a chat room or new media being a blog or something. So, just kind of put your mindset in that this was written probably 5 years ago, because I've been really surprised when I see some of these facts back your survey. Very exciting new media questions that I think we might see on the test. Just kind of think that through a little bit. So, Rachel, can we move to the next one? Thank you. Okay, so continuing with some of the learning objectives, determine the most effective and feasible communication format for accomplishing the association's goals and meeting the needs of members and stakeholders, as well as monitor, review, assess publications and communications quality, usefulness, and relevance, and implement changes as appropriate to meet communications goals and objectives. So always start out with a goal in mind. It's nicer to replicate one message across many channels and different formats. And I think SPY comes in here a lot, that scan, plan, implement, and evaluate. So it seems like it peppers throughout this whole section. So always think of that when you're looking at these questions. Think of best, next step, all of those other best ideas that, circle those and you see those in the test. So the last learning objective on this page is plan, implement, and monitor the strategy and applications associated with the association website development and maintenance to ensure the website serves the mission of the association. Know who your target audience is, the members, the public. Try to keep, is it advocacy? Keep people informed. So next step, advocacy. So what you're going to want to do is just kind of weave a lot of your messages throughout all these different channels. So develop an editorial and peer review structure, if appropriate, to ensure the integrity of the publication. So depending on if it's a scientific journal, you want peer review. And also, what's the editorial review structure? Does it need to go up to senior leadership or scientific committees? It just depends what kind of internal review you have, but definitely have someone else always checking your work or buying into it. Provide effective communication strategies and interactive tools to engage members and stakeholders. So those are just in terms of, yeah, we can move on. I mean, just be effective with your communications channels. So I think what we should do is describe an approach to establish media outlets that promote association-sponsored programs and services. And I thought a lot about how I liked kind of your format, Rachel, that I think I can kind of walk you through some of these things, like tools to include our press releases. Think about it in inverted pyramid style. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. You can do a media advisory. Again, it's those 5 W's and an H. It's a little bit more simple. They're a lot more bulleted. You can do a press conference. However, I don't do a lot of those, but use only when there's great news value. Make sure your spokesperson is media trained to do live interviews. You've got one person identified, messages are approved, and they're sure to succeed. Build individual relationships with the media. That's my favorite PR tool right now, as reporters always want story ideas and news sources. I think associations have great opportunities to develop a spokesperson's network to foster, nurture, and build relationships for years to come with the media, as they always want news sources. So one thing to think about is with this approach, you're going to want to establish a policy to identify a specific media spokesperson. So building on what Rachel had said, if you've got a crisis, you're going to want to, probably is going to be your CSE or your CEO. You're going to want to make sure that they're media trained. You don't have to react immediately. Again, don't comment. It's a terrible thing to say. Don't elaborate. Don't give opinions. You can always buy a little bit of time, have the reporter call you back. But you're going to definitely want to make sure that it's the right person speaking for the association and that they've done media before, and that they're going to be able to carry the party line. But with the spokesperson's network, you can be more proactive and pursue some of those news stories, the educating the public aspects. The crisis might be more the informing the public, just the facts. But the spokespersons, you can kind of, what I call beta test messages, and see what kind of, what stories you can survey, scan the stories out there, and really, if they fit your mission, if you have a role in it, you can really advance stories and get some really significant media with that. So, you always are going to want to be with the press, protective, proactive, and promotional. Not promotional when it's a crisis, but protective certainly in terms of protecting your reputation. You do want to be proactive, so if you can't answer the question, it's fine to say, I don't have that information, but I'd be happy to get back to you, or I can't speak to that individual case. However, if I was working on it as a structural engineer and investigating crane accidents in New York City, here are the questions I would ask. Those are good holding statements. Written statements, if you can, just to make sure that you've got that all prepared, would be good in some kind of media situation. I was just talking to a person today where last year there was a Humane Society investigation done, and they were having a $1 million march on an association, or on an educational institute. And I got a call from an investigative reporter, and they were deciding whether to write the next story. And so I was able to reach out to another member at a well-known institution in another state, and we got our thoughts together, and we were able to kind of redirect the story so that it was away from implant testing in animals to, we love dogs. We own dogs. We want to help you. We want to make sure dogs crack their teeth too. We want to make sure that if we put an implant in a dog, it really is going to last for years, and it's going to help them, as well as at some point you can only do so much testing in the laboratory. At some point you have to put it into a living organism. So it ended up the reporter didn't write the story, and we were able to kind of reframe it, but by just going to collecting the facts and also looking at what the questions were that were going to be asked and kind of redirecting the interview. And you don't want to have that BP oil spill where the guy says, I want back my life. So maybe we can go to the next question. So how would you approach defining your audience and matching delivery with their needs? On this, I would take a look at the types of media on page 315 of the Private Practice Study Guide, Private Practice book, or Professional Practices, or 286 in the Study Guide. And the Study Guide, particularly from 283 to 289, has a really good review. But some of the things you're going to want to keep in mind are types of media, are identifying your key audience, internal and external scans, general members, special interest segments, and circulation. Match most appropriate type of media based on your audience and your message. For publications, you're going to want to identify the need and survey your membership identify your statement of purpose, develop a management system, decide if it's going to be centralized versus decentralized, consider if it's peer review, who will be on the board of editors, and what are your internal processes. Make sure that you've got an editorial mission determined so you can disseminate news and information, provide practical information of use in audience workflows, advocate for the association's positions on issues, and promote association products and services. So, Rachel, would be possible to move on to the next slide. And so what factors do you need to consider in the development and production of publications? Again, some of those, identifying the needs, the management system, and figuring out just the types of editorial processes that you're going to want to follow. And the editor is ultimately responsible for the quality of the association public content. And I think that's it. So anybody have any big questions?
I have a quick question. This is a really fantastic PowerPoint. Is this owned by one of you, or this is great?
Adrienne built it.
It's all Adrienne.
Wow. No.
And we added to it, so we would love, and I think we can share it, right, Adrienne?
Oh, yeah. No, you guys did a great job. I'm like, where were you when I was studying?
We can share the one with the notes, too, if you'd like.
Hey, I can send that out with the wrap-up for this domain.
What did you like about it? I'm just